Well, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Hit It or Quit It show, where Matt and I, Matthew Ferreira, joined us, by the way, from the 4th and 1 pod. As always, we're going to be doing our segment this week since we can't do the full-on show together because of scheduling issues in the games.
Yeah, because the goddamn Titans.
I mean, the Titans
decided to tighten it up.
Fucking Titans, bro. You guys just need to get your shit together, put it all in a bag, take it to the shit store,
Put it in a shit museum. I will say one thing, man. If this season gets canceled, I'm going to pull a Denzel Washington and remember the Titans.
Dude, for real.
Fuck them if they fuck this up for the rest of us.
That picture is going around, too, by the way. I see it in, all the threads now. The fucking in with the face, the mask on and everything.
Oh my god.
So this week we're gonna do a little differently we did last week, guys. We're kind of fine-tuning this hit it or quit it segment here. The way it's gonna work this time around is that Matt and I both picked 2 players from each position that we are going to nominate. We're gonna make our case and then determine from our end if it's gonna be hit it or quit it. We're gonna give you just that, Matt's gonna recommend, I'm gonna recommend. All right. This could be people that are being, that we are recommending dropping, that we're recommending starting, trading for, trading away. Not necessarily starting or sitting, but more of with the anticipation that they could be value for you going into these bye weeks and so forth. So we're not sitting here saying, start these guys if you were hitting it this week, because, it might not be this week particularly, although I think maybe Derek Carr is going to get a little more consideration coming off the bye.
Derek Carr, yeah, he's looking like it.
I mean, that was Matt's pick right there last week. He told you on the first episode. Take him, now.
Yeah.
And now with Dak out, he's going to be one of those bigger options this week. He's already gone in my league, by the way. Got taken.
Yeah, I think actually, I'm not even sure who's. I'm going to check my league right now to see who's available. When does this come out?
This episode is going to come out tomorrow.
Okay, so I already put in the last of my money is going straight to Andy Dalton because there's so few quarterbacks left.
Yeah.
Well, actually, he's one of my hits.
I might have to. I don't know. I have last waiver with Raz, but we might have to go after him too. It's just we have Gardner Minshew, and that's it right now. So, but Matt, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna nominate 2 guys. I guess we'll switch off position. I'll let you do your 2 first, my 2, and then we'll kind of flip it for the running backs, flip it wide receiver, so forth.
Cool.
So I'm going to let you go first. You want to start tight end or quarterback? You want to work your way up or down?
Let's start quarterback since I already brought him up. Okay. Andy Dalton hit. That, he came in, performed admirably. I don't think he turned the ball over. He's got all those weapons. There's no reason not to. Mm-hmm. Even if he's a downgrade from Dak, he's still a tier 2 quarterback, I think, at this point. He's never been that bad. Mm-hmm. He just can't get it done in the playoffs. So I would say for regular season purposes, most talented team he's ever had. Everyone else is still intact. You got 3 receivers. You got a decent tight end. You got a good running back, even though he went to a piece of shit college. You got to do it.
To add to that, they play Arizona, Washington, Philly next 3 weeks. Philly's a little tougher, but Arizona, they almost
Arizona's going to be a shootout. Yeah.
So then they let Flacco look well, and Jamison Crowder, who, of course, no matter who the fuck's that quarterback, is getting 100 yards on them. So, like you said, he has the weapons there. And not to mention that, Washington, they're dealing with some shit on their own end. They might have turnovers, so that could be a good play for him as well. I agree with you on that. And your second one?
My second is Deshaun Watson. He looks like he's back. Bill O'Brien being gone, seemed to free him up. Somehow he has a number 1 receiver again. Mm-hmm. Fucking Cooks went off, so I think it's safe bet. Pick him up if you can get him. I think he's going to do well the rest of the year now. I think he's going to be playing a little bit more loose and free with the ball.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, to the trend, Matt, get this. Fantasy points per game has gone up plus 4 points per week over the last 4 weeks. So he went from 14 points in week 2, 17 in week 3, 20 in week 4, 24 last week. And
so
he
he's
had
coming
24
back.
in the first week. It's 3 20-point games there since week 2. I agree. I mean, I've been down on him the whole year, so he'll be higher on my link. I already started my rankings. He's already a top 10 on my end. He has a good matchup, if I'm not mistaken, this week too. So you keep starting him. He has a ton of weapons. And one of my choices might tie into that down the road. So you are a hit it on Andy Dalton and a hit it on Deshaun Watson. Just want to clarify.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct.
Now I got 1 and 1 on my end. Okay. My first guy that I'm going to talk about that I'm nominating for this list today is Carson Wentz. All right. It's a guy that, listen, I get it. doesn't have the sexiest team in the world right now. The receivers are Zach Ertz is just, not playing his best ball. They're missing Dallas Goedert. They're missing half their offense. I get it. Fact of the matter is, Carson Wentz, despite all that, has put up 70-plus points the last 3 weeks.
Solid.
All right. He's put up 20-plus points the last 2 weeks. And if it seems like the trend's in the right direction, maybe they got a guy in Travis Fulgham who might break out. I don't know how, abnormal that was. He's had 2 really good weeks, so they might have had a weapon there. They get Rieger back soon. And they have some interesting lineups here. Carson Wentz is actually, to my surprise, hit it. I think he has a really good schedule coming up, and I think he could be a guy who you can bring up if you have, a guy like Ertz or Goddard coming back. Even, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what is the story on Goddard? I know fractured ankle. I haven't heard anything about a timeline. No updates there.
He's on IR. I mean, it's like they're projecting.
It was 3-week IR though.
Yeah,
so
I mean, he could be back soon. He should be back soon. I think like 1 or 2 weeks. I picked him up and put him up. Like I literally put my Austin Eckler on IR.
Oh, he's been sitting on my IR,
and then I picked him up, put him right on IR, and picked up someone else. So I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna wait.
Yeah.
But I definitely like Carson Wentz going forward especially for the last couple of weeks. Remember, look what division he's playing in. He's only had 1 divisional game so far, so he has 2 matchups against the Cowboys. He has 2 matchups against the Giants, and he plays the Washington football team.
The Giants defense is a little scary, though.
Giants could be stingier, but Miles Sanders, if he plays the way he's playing, I mean, look what he just did against Pittsburgh last week.
Nuts.
If it wasn't against Pittsburgh this past week, if it was against a lesser defense, I would have been like, all right, let's hold the brakes.
Pittsburgh, who bottled up Saquon Barkley successfully. Right. So I mean, that does say something.
Who bottles up a lot of people, really. I mean, their defense is like top 5 in my top.
Although
3.
he did have, I don't want to say it was fluky, but he had a 75-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
Like one of them was a very, very big play. So,
but 15 targets for Travis Fulgham, 10 catches, 151 yards.
I think I say 15 targets for Miles Sanders.
Oh no. But he looked good against that team. They have a receiver. They're starting to be able to spread a little bit, and all of a sudden, Carson's starting to hit the 20s. I think that will continue in some of his matchups. So I have him as a hit it. The next 3 matchups he has is Baltimore. Surprisingly, actually not that great against the pass, depending on who they had back. I think they had injuries. You guys the next week, so that could be tough. But then you get Dallas. So right in the middle of the buys. Look for your bye week. He can absolutely be a guy who still might be on the waiver wire right now.
Yeah.
The second guy I have, Matt, that I want to talk about because I just don't know what the fucking deal is with him at this point, and I'm hoping maybe this coaching change has changed that. Matt Ryan, and I'm not even gonna put my preview in here before I say he's a fucking quit it. All right, I'm quitting on him all day long, and I don't know what the deal is.
I can't quit you.
Like he could turn it around. He could turn it around. He has weapons. He has all that. But man, has he stunk it up, dude. Let me give you some stats, Matt. He had 1 touchdown in the last 3 weeks.
Oof.
1 touchdown, 2 picks. All right. He's had 6 points, 12 points, and 11 points in fantasy in normal scoring. 4 points per touchdown, 25 per yard, or 25 yards per point, right? And new head coach, Julio, we don't know if he's injured or not, if he's coming back or not. He seems to be holding it back a little bit. I've noticed that in the games when these teams keep getting back into it. Ryan all of a sudden hits like a wall. And I right now, I know he has the weapons. I'm more comfortable in starting Calvin Ridley and Todd Gurley than I am starting Matt Ryan. All right, yeah. Todd Gurley has become a much more reliable fantasy option this year than Matt Ryan, which blows my mind.
It's crazy, but hey, fuck it. If you got him for cheap.
If you have him as a second QB, or if you were going to try to listen, I would even make a bold move. If you're starting him, and that's it. Try to trade him away, package him with someone, get rid of him, and pick up someone or get someone in that trade. Try to upgrade or something along those lines. Because Matt Ryan, he may have that game once in a while, but it just seems like he's not going to do it. And he's not elite. He won an MVP once. Great for him. He's not on the same tier as the other guys. He's not worth it. It's not worth it. So that is my quit it of the week. On that end, so we had 3 hit-its here. Watson, Dalton, go after him. Carson Wentz, if he's on the waiver wire, should be there. Go after him. I agree. Watson could be like one of those guys who I was discounting him, Matt, and I agree with you 100%, dude. To the running backs now, Matt. I'm going to let you go first again. I don't think we're just going to... Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go wide receivers first. Wide receivers, then the running backs.
Wide receivers first?
Wide receivers first.
So wide receivers, I've got Preston Williams as a hit. I think he's been sneaky good. I mean, even last year, he was kind of the guy, I think. And when he went down, that's what gave Parker the chance to break out. So I'm back in on him. I think he's been trending up in the right direction for a team that's up and coming. Like, I have a close friend, Sean, who's a huge Dolphins fan. So that's where I get a lot of my updates from.
He must be thrilled about this weekend.
He's over the moon.
That's a win for you, right
Dude,
there.
that was a solid fucking win.
I don't care if Jimmy got hurt. He put up 2 picks before he got hurt, so don't give me that shit,
Yeah, like this is a big deal. So that team I think is moving in the right direction. You got to love what Brian Flores is doing over there. I think that's the go. We might not even, if they keep playing like this, we might not see Tua at all this year.
I mean, well, ironically enough, if you actually look at Fitzpatrick's stats, it wasn't the greatest. So ironically,
no, his numbers aren't amazing, but I still think if they're winning, just fucking.
If they're winning, I think you're going to stick with him. But I think if they start to like win loss, which they can very well do, then I think you'll see. I have a feeling you'll see Tua by the end of the year. It just seems like that,
Yeah.
But season. I'll tell you what, Matt. It pains me that you might be correct about this because I dropped him in 2 of my leagues before this week.
Ooh.
I mean, he was just doing nothing.
Yeah.
And while 5 targets, 106 yards and a touchdown, he's only had over 7 targets in week like I think it's 7. Oh, I'm sorry, he had 7+ targets. Let me see. What did I write down? I don't even know what I wrote down here.
Yeah.
Oh, he had like 40 yards. He had over 40 yards and plus 7 targets in only 1 week this year. That was, you know what I mean? So that was what was scaring me. And you're right. Maybe now he gets more involved. He did get there last year. I mean, if he does, then I'm mad at myself. But I've done that this year on a couple people. I dropped Justin Jackson earlier on. I dropped a bunch of people that ended up being really good players. So it is what it is. You know what? That's the draw there. But I agree. Preston Williams might be on the waiver. Listen, you might be able to get him because of people like me who dropped him last week because of the start. And he was trending right now in the right direction. Matt, your second wide receiver that you got on your hit it or quit it.
My second wide receiver is a quit, and that's Marvin Jones. He has not had a game over 60 yards. He's been a major disappointment for a guy who's usually sneaky consistent. You got to quit it at this point. He's not doing anything.
Get this one. Targets decreased every week, last 4 weeks, from 8 to 6 to 3 to 2. Notice the last 2 were also the same 2 weeks that Kenny Galladay came back. So I agree with you, Marvin Jones. You probably,
which means I was wrong about Galladay, but I'm probably not about Jones.
Probably not about Jones. Listen, he'll have his games. He always does. He always has these like boom games, but they're
but they're going to be very far between.
Exactly. Matt, on my end, I have someone here that I think is pretty interesting on my first one. Michael Gallup. Now, Michael Gallup, over 5 targets once in 5 games. Once. Now, it could change with Andy Dalton there. All right? He could be the guy there. Who knows? All right? So I could be totally wrong.
Was the time he had over 5 targets this past week?
No, it was the time that he had like the good game 2 weeks ago.
Damn.
So every game, anytime he's had over 5 targets, he's had double-digit points. But he hasn't had those targets. Dak is out. It might be a situation where, A, you could either go after him or trade him away. Because we just don't know what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
I feel
like... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I have to think, though. I have a theory about how these quarterbacks do these things, these backups that come in. And I used it sometimes in DFS, and it works to my advantage sometimes. That the guys who are the backups have a little bit more of a chemistry with certain guys that are a little lower. I'm not even talking about CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. This could very well be Cedric Wilson territory and potentially 4 wide receiver sets getting more involved.
Yeah, Andy Dalton, makes total sense.
Right. Right now, it's too much of a variable. If I have Michael Gallup, personally, I would be trading him. I am going to quit on Michael Gallup. Only Michael Gallup. I think CeeDee Lamb in the slot has much more of a role, but the number 2 in that offense is a little weird to me. I think you might be able to get some really good value for him. And listen, he might end up shitting the bed even more, but he's only had 1 really productive game, and the targets just aren't there right now. Again, this could change, so if you want to wait a week and then see how it goes with Andy Dalton, and if it's the same shit, then I say quit on that, move forward. Maybe this is a cautionary tale, wait maybe a week. But yes, I would definitely look into that. If he can't do it against, some of these other matchups and he's just not looking at him, I say you quit on Michael Gallup. Maybe try to trade him before his value gets a little low if he's not doing anything. Or listen, he could also be a guy that's trade candidate in real life.
Yeah, it's like he got it. No, very possible.
In real life.
Very
so,
possible.
so I mean, you don't know what the situation is going to be. It could be good, bad. But personally, for me, I'm not seeing enough production to keep him. If I can get some good value, if I need running backs because of the injuries and quarterbacks, even package him again with someone a little bit lower and maybe upgrade there, or or get a sleeper that you know what I mean, like get Chase Claypool and a running back that you really need from Michael Gallup. Might be an interesting option because at this point the value could be interesting. You might listen. You might if Michael Gallup still has his value right now, potentially, but it's going down.
I would think the big sell is going to be that he had all his points at the end of that game when Dalton was in. So you know what I mean? It's like you said.
It was garbage time.
Swing, yeah.
Because
he got hurt. He got hurt late in the game. Dak, didn't he? Was it like fourth?
Yeah. Yep. And it just hasn't been great. And even when he was in, he wasn't really targeted. Again, Michael Gallup in the game that he did produce, like you said, even in that game, it was second half production for him. It was mostly at the end of garbage time or teams coming back or whatever. The featured guys is clearly CeeDee Lamb and Amari at this point, unless there is some shadowing possibility. And even then, it doesn't seem like Gallup can get going. So I don't know how Dalton's going to improve. People are like, well, it could be better. I don't think so. I think it's going to be somewhat a downgrade, but it will be a productive, but not that productive, right? And then the second guy on my list, Matt, is a guy I have that I just don't know what to do right now, but Deontay Johnson is the other guy on my list. We talked about Chase Claypool, right? He got injured, but he does get targets when he's healthy. The injuries, though, he's kind of like that James Conner or Dalvin Cook right now. It's like you start him, if you put him in, he gets like a catch and then he's out and then he fucks you that way. And it's those guys, I hate those ones even more than the guys who are just out right away, so you know where you can replace them. He gets targets, but listen, also, I do believe Juju's in his contract year. I believe that they want to feature Deontay because he and Chase Claypool will end up being the future next year. I don't think you're going to end up signing Juju with the talent they have now with Chase Claypool. So I think, regardless, he's going to get his targets. Ben does like him, so he gets his targets when he's there. Chase Claypool probably doesn't have 4 touchdowns if Deontay Johnson didn't get hurt. I'm not saying he still doesn't have a good game, but I think Deontay would have eaten into that, had a touchdown himself or whatever. So I'm still going to say hit it. I think he could be a really buy low candidate, especially right now in a team that's still going to feature him as a number 2 or even number 3. It doesn't matter. Why receive? As long as he's one of the top 3, you're good. He's going to utilize them, and he has the opportunity. Ben likes him. I think he is a sneaky, you might be able to get him for cheaper right now because people are like, yo, fuck this. But that might be your opportunity to trade a lower end player for him and get a better player down the road. So I'm going to hit it on him. I'm going to quit it on Gallup. But precautionary, maybe next week I wait a week to see what happens with Dalton.
Fair.
Moving right along, Matt. I'll just keep the theme. You go first, I'll go second. Let's go with your running backs first.
I mean, this is an obvious one. Alexander Mattison, hit.
Yep.
Hit.
Get this. What? The team that I'm going up against in the main league, number 1 team, I lost 2 straight now because of my injuries. Guess who they have on their bench that they're not putting in their flex? Alexander
Madison, yeah.
Of course, the team that it doesn't have Dalvin Cook. The team that I had him as the backup, and now they're just going to throw him in. I'm like, all right, that's how that goes. I'm still going to beat him. That's all right. You know what?
There you go.
We're going to use our knowledge and my skills to win. Anyways.
Sprinkle some magic on.
Yeah. Alexander Mattison, 26 carries, 162 yards, 7 for 7, 54 yards, and 0 touchdowns in the games that he had over 15 fantasy points. I'm sorry, over double-digit fantasy points. 0 touchdowns in that time. 0
touchdowns.
The only touchdown he had was like the weird game where he had like 7 points. It was like nothing. It was like a spell back. So the games he was featured, he didn't even have to score to get you fantasy points. He has a good matchup this week. As much as I hate saying it, he's a must-start for you guys.
Yep.
Your second running back is another guy who I like. I like this one.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell. Not while he's on the Jets, but the rumors are he's going to get traded soon. If that happens, lock and load, maybe try and make a move for him now. I know I'm sure as hell going to. Just see what you can get. Like, if you can pick up Bell and just have him ready to go, because the other thing is the key thing that you can't really quantify this. He's pissed off.
Yep.
Le'Veon Bell. So he sat out for a year, came to the Jets thinking he was going to be the guy, and he's got Adam Gase just literally fucking him in the butthole.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think you're going to see a big boom game out of him wherever he goes. And this is the guy that if you're in a keeper league, he's probably going to play decently into his 30s and well because he has taken so much time off.
And he does have receiving ability. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing, like, it's like the targets. Like, he has like 2 targets in his 2 games. So that's ridiculous. They are like, there's a reason he's liking shit and things about not utilizing or play calling correctly, utilizing his players, because Adam Gase doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's in Matt Nagy territory, or rather, Matt Nagy's in Adam Gase territory at this point. I'm stunned he still has a job. I really am.
Yeah. Seriously.
Matt, what team do you think would benefit, or I guess, is there any teams you have in mind that you think would be the best benefit for Le'Veon? Like, what would be the best scenario for a trade?
Interesting. For Le'Veon Bell, I'm sorry, are you okay? My dog's over here just making noise. I'm like, what are you doing? That's actually a pretty tough one. Part of me wants to say the 49ers. Just to get some consistency out of that position, instead of bouncing from guy to guy to guy to guy, sign him for at least a year and then just go off.
Honestly, I could see it too, because you think about, like, they could use him at wide receiver and throw him out. Like, the way they utilize their wide receivers, he'd be perfect for that role too. He doesn't even have to play running back for them.
He could play damn near anything.
Yeah, another team that I really thought would be a really interesting pick, because listen, I've never been personally big on the guy that's there, but I think, again, he could bring a different element and be a more featured guy that can really elevate the offense. How about this one, Matt? The Cincinnati Bengals.
Interesting. You think even with Mixon there?
I think, listen, who knows if maybe you throw AJ Green in that trade, and it's AJ Green to the Jets. Give him another weapon there along with Crowder.
I mean, that's not a bad trade.
They need receivers, and listen, I mean, the running back's going to be a problem with the Jets, but you bring him over to Cincinnati, then all of a sudden you have Burrow, who can utilize a guy again. You can move if you know how to utilize him correctly. You know, he could be a really big asset. Or, Matt, the real weird dark horse with me would be Green Bay. Would be nuts to go after him.
I was thinking that too. I thought Green Bay would be okay.
Crazy.
Okay, sorry. Pardon me one moment here.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
He's like, I want to go outside. I'm like, all right, fine, go outside. Like,
you can't come back in. But, like, the thing about with Green Bay, if he went there, you know, they know how to, first of all, if anything, if I've known anything in what we saw the last time they played, that's proven about Green Bay, they will utilize their weapons very well and be creative with them and utilize running backs as receivers all day if they have to. So spelling Aaron Jones is not a huge deal. This would be more of a hit to like Jamal Williams if they got him, something like that, and provides a weapon that they truly could utilize, and they would, like, all day, every day. That would be the scariest.
That's very true.
That would be the scariest pick. Green Bay should be the pick. If he went there, oh my God, his value would go through the fucking roof.
Yep. Definitely
agree. I just got excited about a trade that probably won't even happen.
Probably won't happen. Probably not even being discussed, but would be amazing.
My God, like, that would be awesome. I mean, that might be the clickbait title. You know what I'm saying?
Le'Veon Bell trade target.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so my running backs here. I got someone from your neck of the woods, Devontae Freeman.
Interesting.
Now, Devontae Freeman, I had him as a sleeper last week. If you guys were here on Sunday when Matt and I were talking, putting the rankings together. Of course. He was, he's a riser on the board. I think he's going into Washington's a tough matchup. No doubt about it. Like, that's one of the positions where they don't put up points against the Washington team is running back. But I think he's going to be utilized in the pass game and run game a little bit more as a feature role. It just feels like that because he could do both, and he's much better at his receiving game, in my opinion, sometimes. Washington, Philadelphia, a little tough, but doable. It's a divisional game. You guys always play it well to a degree. I think he does some things in that. Plus, they have injuries all over the place. Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay is a tough one. Now, granted, that's definitely tough. Washington and Philly. He has a tough schedule for the next couple of weeks. After that, your schedule definitely softens up for the running back. And if he's the guy by then, he'll really be immersed. I think if you could buy low on him now. I think you buy low on him now. He had 17 carries last week, 60 yards and a touch. You don't need him to do crazy much, So RB2, RB3 flex, I think he's a good option. If you're desperate at quarterback, like running back right now, like me, I'm desperate. I might actually go after him myself and see if I can trade like Judy for him.
Yeah, seriously. I'm trying to do something right now.
And I mean, I got to talk to you later about that stuff too. So I'm going to be a hit it on Devontae Freeman. Maybe not. Listen, for the long run, it'd be better off if you can put him on your bench. He could be a decent week flyer. I don't expect him to put up 15 points. Maybe 7-8 points. I think he'll get some receptions though, and he's going to get the carries. In an offense that I think will play better now that their identity is starting to kind of find itself.
Yeah,
the defense is playing well.
Solidifying. Yeah,
I saw them play pretty damn well against the Cowboys, even before Dak went out. So.
Yeah, the defense is solid. The offense just we don't have enough talent, honestly, on offense. I think is a big issue, but that's another story.
I agree. So the other guy I have is another sleeper from last week, Matt. Chase Edmonds. Chase Edmonds. We talked about Kenyon Drake last week. We don't like him. He listen. He had a touchdown, no doubt about it. And people are gonna be like, "Well, he's okay. He's all right now.
He's coming back. He's coming back. He's not coming back.
He's not coming back. He's not coming back.
He would have done it already. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, what you got there is what you're gonna get with Kenyon Drake. Where in this offense, I think Chase Edmonds is starting to get more and more involved. Now, Matt, this is the interesting thing. Ready? So 5+ targets the last 2 weeks. Okay. Also had double-digit fantasy points the last 2 weeks, okay? Before that, under 5, if he had under 5 receiving targets, he had a terrible fantasy game, and the team didn't actually do as well. When he does that, last 2 weeks, 5+ targets, again, double-digit fantasy points. He gets good points in the fantasy game, and the trend is he wasn't getting 5 targets. Now, last 2 weeks, he's gotten 5 minimum. I think that continues. I think it might even go up. Plus, he does have some rush potential, so I like Chase Edmonds. He's another hit it. I think he could be someone you might get for much cheaper that can absolutely fill the role. He's another guy, Matt, who I might like try to, throw like Jerry Jeudy and Ertz for like Chase Edmonds in a decent receiver and try to flip that and use Edmonds if I have to. Listen, it's not a guy I'm going to be confident starting as my RB2 for me if I needed to, but an emergency guy. It's the position's starting to get super thin with IR spots. If you guys are set up the way we are, a lot of players are getting taken, and you realize how scarce it's becoming because of that situation, which is something I didn't really account for until now. I'm like, holy shit, there's no running backs. So
there's so few.
so most likely, if it's like any other league with the IR spots, if you're struggling and you had Austin Eckler out and Aaron Jones on bye and you lost Chubb and those were your guys, unless you had some depth already, which I didn't really have Gibson, that's it. You're probably struggling. These are some guys you might be able to buy low on and try to go trade for. And then finally, Matt, the tight ends. I'm going to switch this up and start with mine real quick because I want to save one of yours for last, and we'll talk about him. My first guy, Matt, I have Austin Hooper. Hooper's been a guy who has been okay. Didn't seem like he was getting involved, and then Njoku was better week 1, whatever. Last 2 weeks, though, 10 targets, 7 targets both weeks. 17 targets over the last 2 weeks. He's had the best 2 fantasy games he's had the last 2 weeks. Even with Njoku back last week, he was the featured guy with 10 targets. I liked Hooper going forward, and with the position being so shitty this year, outside of like 2 guys, Andrews and Kittle, now that he's back, he's a guy who's been a little bit more consistent from that perspective for that team. They're not a wide receiver first team; they're a running back first team. So tight end is more valuable in that Cleveland offense, in my opinion. And I think Hooper's going to get more and more involved. Now, again, Njoku could take that value, but I do love Hooper. And then my second guy, Matt, is someone who, listen, I'm not going to name names here, but it's the one guy on my team that I personally didn't like this year that I drafted. The only person I didn't go with my rankings, Matt. I listened to experts, quote unquote, and I took this tight end, and it's been the worst decision I made. Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbee, honestly. Let me just wait for this thing to move off my screen here because it's recorded. Tyler Higbee has been such a disappointment, and on top of that, now Gerald Everett is vulturing the production. I mean, fuck this. Fuck that guy. The way the offense is being used, he's on my shit list. If you could trade Tyler Higbee, trade him. Even if Gerald Everett went down, which he did a little bit this year, Tyler Higbee still wasn't really producing outside of his 1 game in Philadelphia. There's so many. There's better tight ends for a lot cheaper out there. And now with Gerald Everett back in the mix and now vulturing the production like we saw this past week, I'm over Tyler Higbee. Luckily, I picked up Robert Tonyan in that same league, so I have my tight end in 1. But shit, I'm going to try to trade him and package him with a wide receiver to upgrade, maybe him with a running back to upgrade like we were talking about. I don't know who needs it, but if someone needs a tight end, try to fucking throw it his way, sprinkle him in there. If not, cut him. I mean, I'm not going to say cut a guy who's supposed to be top 5, but I'm quitting on him all day, every day. All right, Maddie, your turn. The 2 tight ends that you're nominating for the hit or quit it for week 6.
All right. I think I know who you want to talk about, so I should start with my hit, right?
I don't know. I think so. Yeah, I think I would assume yes.
So my hit for the week is, or for this session, is Jimmy Graham.
Mhm.
He's only had one game with under 5 targets. So now, is he pulling these early career numbers with these plus matchup games? Not quite, but he's doing well. He's being consistent. He's clearly got a role in that offense.
Mhm.
He's a guy that if you can get him, probably worth it.
Yep. He's one of the top fantasy producers right now in a tight end position. And like we said, it's scarce. Very scarce position. I always had this philosophy, Matt. I like the tight ends who are like the more featured tight ends, right? We see Mark Andrews as like the number 1 tight end there. We see Kelsey as the number 2 option behind Tyreek Hill and elite talent, but no other receivers snagging those targets. Well, it's kind of the same situation in Chicago. And hey, this quarterback actually likes throwing to tight ends and Nick Foles.
Yep.
So you have Allen Robinson, and outside of that, there's no one that's going to get targets outside of probably Jimmy Graham. And once in a while, Miller, maybe. Tariq Cohen's gone. I love the value of him. Let me see. What was the stat that I have for him here? I'm trying to see here. Yeah, I mean, he's doubled in his targets the last 2 weeks with Nick Foles in the lineup. Like everything, all production, yards, and targets, Matt, all doubled last 2 weeks. He's a guy you could throw in at a very weak position. He might even still be available, like you said, on the free agent waiver wire.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the pick there. And your second one, Matt, even though I had Carson Wentz as a hit it.
Yeah, we got Zach Ertz as a hard quit because he I don't know what it is. I don't know if it still stems from that early season argument he was having with was it the coach or the GM? He was arguing with someone though.
I think it was a GM.
Yeah, I kind of think it was too. Like, I don't know if it was a contract thing, but he has not been looking good. Something is up there. I mean, even when he was healthy, Dallas Goedert was the number 1 target, number 1 targeted player in that offense. So that's got to tell you a lot. And so I think Zach Ertz stays your numbered.
And I think it's weird because it's like, I used to think if Dallas Goedert got hurt, like last year, I had Ertz and Wentz, and I thought like, oh, if I have Dallas Goedert, or if I have Ertz rather, and Goddard's injured, Ertz is a must start. And last year it kind of was. He was good when he was out. He was consistent, 9 points, 10 points every week. This year,
now you're like,
it's like he only produces if Goddard's in there, and it's like it maybe if that, and usually it's going to be Goddard or him. So it's like I agree with you. It's a really weird situation, and I rather would have Dallas Goedert at this point. I don't see him there next year. He's going to be on a new team next year.
Yeah, I think so.
No doubt in my mind.
You mean, right?
Yeah, Ertz, absolutely.
Yeah.
Get this though. First 3 weeks, 24 targets over the first 3 weeks. Commendable. That's over 7 targets a game. That's great. That's 8 targets a game. That's great. Last 3 weeks, Matt. Last 2 weeks, rather, 11. All right. So you're dropping from about an average of 8 targets a week to about 5.
Yeah.
And you're doing nothing with it. I mean, I don't know if it's
catching those.
And I don't know if it's a product of Miles Sanders going off last week and Travis Fulgham stepping up. I don't know. I think it's a product of they are just all over him with Dallas Goedert out. So I think his value with Goddard out is awful. Again, I'd rather have Goddard, I think, of the two right now. So, I mean, he wasn't great too his last 2 weeks there, but the offense seems to go a little better when he's there.
Yeah.
So, man, I mean, those are all those guys. Listen, those are all guys that might be buy low, trade low.
Yeah, you gotta do what you can. Gotta make moves where you can.
But these are guys who, last week we said Derek Carr. You probably would have been like, go fuck yourself. Well, go fuck yourself because we were right.
We were right.
We talked about other, I forgot who else we talked about on these shows, but like got Joe Mixon coming back to earth. Well, guess what? Joe Mixon came back to fucking earth as always. 17 for 60 yards or some shit like that. That's Joe Mixon for you folks. So again, I mean, it's going to be, we want to give you guys these highlights every week. We know we can't have Matt for the show this week, so we definitely wanted to have you on, of course.
Yeah, but no, happy to be here for this one at least.
I hope I'm not already losing my voice because I feel it like out of nowhere.
Uh-oh.
But we'll clarify. We'll clear it up by the end of this. Anyway, so going back to the game, Matt, I also just wanted to get a quick note on any other guys that you waiver wire wanted to kind of throw in here. I know tomorrow this will be guys that people already have, but people that they should be excited about. Chase Claypool, for example, guys Claypool's like that, right?
Don't do what I did. I hope you didn't do what I did where you dropped him because you needed a player. Definitely hurts.
We had him and dropped him too in Raz's league, and we need receivers in that league. Oh my god,
hurts, man. It hurts.
Raz
so
must
bad.
hate me. I've been making bad moves lately.
Ugh.
I dropped Madison in our league too, so that was fun.
Oh no!
Like last week to pick up.
See, like Madison, I wouldn't have dropped because Cook's a liability.
To pick up Zacchaeus. I hate myself. I should have waited. I didn't even fucking play him. I didn't even play him. He wouldn't even play.
You're a real piece of shit, Morty.
You know what? Madison was a product of the buys for me.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's tough. It's been tough this year. It really has.
Yeah.
It's tough to keep that bench stash space because you really don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly. And to that note, I'm going to just make this quick point, and then I know you have a meeting, Matt, so we'll let you go. Have backups. This is not the year. We said this before. This is not the year.
Don't fuck around.
To have one guy. Listen, I'm kicking myself that I haven't have a second running back outside of Gibson that I can have some depth there because I'm dealing with that right now, and it hurt having to play Ernst Johnson last week. Fuck me. I got 64 points. I was leading points in this league, and I got the lowest point value this week. So have your guys. Next week, I'm playing the number one team, and guess what? Russell Wilson's on bye. Well, I have Tom Brady. So I'm looking good. Tom Brady to me is going to be a top 5 option. Make sure you just go out. I mean, it's hard to do that now, but even if you have really good depth somewhere that you can afford to maybe trade someone away, your lowest tier guy, I'm talking maybe 5 wide receivers when you only need 2 or 3, go ahead and trade maybe one of those guys, or 6 wide receivers rather. Go ahead and trade one of those guys, package someone with your quarterback, maybe upgrade depth. Or get some depth. Especially when you can at running back. That position, any guys that have IR spots, it's getting depleted. Make sure you have that depth. All right. So
really quick question for you. What are your thoughts on Zach Moss for the rest of the year?
I mean, I have to see I don't even know if he's going tonight, but I have to see how he's going to play in this game tonight. But I think you're going to see a progression of him in the next couple of weeks. I think they do still like him. I don't think Devin Singletary's blown it out of the water to take the job and be like, oh, we have our stud back, right? So I think he's going to get more and more involved. I think he's a very valuable handcuff. If he's got dropped in certain leagues, because of buys and injuries, absolutely pick him up. He's absolutely one of the better handcuffs because he has standalone value like Alexander Madison does. Even more maybe than Madison because Cook's the featured guy there.
Fair.
And then another quick note, guys, before we get off this, Matt, what is the Rams running back situation? Is it Cam Akers time? Because I have no fucking clue anymore.
I'm avoiding it because it could be Malcolm Brown. It could be Darrell Henderson. I'm totally avoiding it. Honestly, if I'm the Rams at this point, I might trade one of those guys.
I would too. I don't be surprised, guys, to see some trades at the deadline here.
Yeah. I would honestly try and move one of them. Look, probably Malcolm Brown because he's the oldest, even though he's pretty effective. But just send him on his way, get a couple picks, do something, just package up, gear up for the future.
All I want to know, and I just don't want this to happen, if Julio is on the trade block, I just don't want him to go to Philadelphia. That's it. I just don't want him to go there.
You'd be loving. Here's my dark horse pick. Dave Gettleman tries to save his job.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Julio Jones. Could you imagine?
The crazy thing is, there's 3 teams that I can see going after a guy like Julio. Or inquiring about him and Calvin Ridley. I don't think they're going to trade Ridley, but I think they're going to inquire about Julio because they said they're open to hearing. So I think that you could definitely get some value for Julio, and I don't know. I would love the Washington team to do it, but I just don't think we need AJ Green. I think that's a waste of a trade if that happens. Yeah. I don't think unless you're a team that's kind of like I would rather see AJ Green. Honestly, Matt, let's see him go to Seattle.
Okay. Pick up the number 3 spot there.
Take the number 3 spot over David Moore, or even the number 4 spot there. You have all these weapons. That's an attack I like. Or even, honestly, I'd rather Le'Veon Bell for Green Bay than AJ Green. But I mean that would be one of if I had to pick one trade that I would love to make happen.
Le'Veon Bell is kind of scary too.
Yeah, but I like Carson. I think he has more.
No, I do too. But he just tends to get hurt. I feel like he gets banged up.
Le'Veon could be cool there too. I just think Green Bay would be the slam dunk trade of the year if they traded for Le'Veon Bell. So that's my prediction. That's my bold prediction. That's what I would love to see. Again, Matt, appreciate you joining us. I know it sucks that we can't have you, but listen, we got season stats now on the show coming up now. We're gonna have I'm gonna have my rankings done before the show, so I'll have my rankings to go over with the show now. So I'll have my value that will progress. We'll be promoting that on Twitter. directly on Twitter on Sunday
mornings. I'll be taking a look at that myself.
Literally, we're just going to post our list on Twitter right when everyone's going to be searching, so you'll be able to see our rankings. I'll be doing the live stream. Matt might join me at one point or another, depending on what the week is, and we'll be kind of going over that same list. So, guys, definitely feel free to join us every Sunday morning. I'll be on from 9:30 to about noon going over the rankings. The rankings will be live at that point once I go live on the show. So, we'll be able to talk. Any questions you have, feel free to tweet at me. Feel free to come hop in. Bring some beers, bring some paraphernalia, bring some coffee, and we'll have some fun. Bring some breakfast, and we'll have some fun. So, Matt, thank you again for joining us, guys. This is the Rise and Fall Hit It or Quit It show. I'm Dave Sarner, your host. This is Matthew Ferreira. We'll see you next week, guys.
Take it easy.
Send the rocks across the pavement.